Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Arcane Rising EV video, kind of a market update for you for Arcane Rising. We're going to go ahead and start with Unlimited, and then we'll get into first edition and I'll complain a little bit. But before we get into there, let me just say thank you to all the patrons that make all this content possible. Patrons, for $3, you get all access to all the data that I'm sharing with you, as well as all the data for Crucible of War and WTR. That comes as a spreadsheet, a collection tracker every week updated. There are 5 collection trackers that I give you the updated numbers for. So you can track your collection, which is pretty awesome. And then patrons, you also support all the other content on the channel and kind of the giveaways and stuff like that. So thank you so much for being a patron. And then additionally, I just want to always say that I'm going to share the facts here, kind of the sold market data. But if you're interested in my opinions and kind of what I would do if I were an investor, I do have a podcast as part of the Patreon at the expensive tier that is called If I Were Investing, and what I would do if I were an investor in Flesh and Blood, because I'm not. So, that being said, I also want to give a shout out to Midtown Merchant. Mitch over at the Midtown Merchant. He's an awesome guy, a supporter of the community. Good. He's become a good friend at Midtown Merchant. They've given us a discount code of JustLove10. So they've already got cards pretty low priced, and then you can save 10% as well on that. So make sure you buy your cards first from Midtown Merchant, because he is an amazing dude. And that's the graphic for that. And then I also just wanted to say I do have a TCG Player affiliate link now. So if you want to support the channel, unfortunately you don't save any money, but if you're going to buy cards already on TCG Player, check out my affiliate link. It helps the channel and it helps me grow as well. So pretty awesome. But make sure you first go to Midtown Merchant, because Mitch is the best. So let's do that. So now let's go ahead and get into Arcane Rising. This week, I get to share something really happy with you. Let's go. Where am I? Unlimited. Why don't I have my box price? It's over here. Sorry. Over on the sealed, we have sold listings back down. We're getting closer to $100. Unlimited boosters sold for about 106. You still got to pay shipping, but that's okay. So make sure you're not spending what people were charging in the 150s. You should be able to get unlimited now that it's back from suppliers and the distributors. So back when we had $150 boxes, I said do not buy them for that, because they're going to tank in price, and we're back down to $105. So I would expect this to start evening out right around $100. If you want to pick them up, go ahead and pick them up, because I think this is a good time to do it. Distributors kind of just sent out product to stores, and I think we heard we have more product coming in February as well. So make sure you are aware of that. That being said, even though that's going down, the Eye of Ophidia is showing no signs of stopping. Kind of week to week, we had a 14% increase, an 8% increase, and now another 12% increase. And even that, I'm going to show you actually the sold listings. Some are selling, this one sold for 800, so that guy got kind of a bad deal, but 750, 800, 650, 650. I'm kind of pricing it in at 725. You can get one for cheaper than 725, but if you're selling, you will probably be able to get 725. It's kind of my thoughts there. So make sure you do your own research on all these cards. Make sure you don't just take my word for it, but my opinion is that that's sitting around 725. So pretty cool. That's 1 in 40 boxes, if you did not know that. Let's move over to the legendaries. 1 in 4 boxes, you pull a legendary. And we saw not a ton of movement, actually a 0% movement, but we did see some movement on individual cards. Foundry Heart stayed about the same. The Skullbone Cross Wrap and the Grasp of the Arknight actually rose in value. But the Storm Striders and the Skull Cap actually went down in value. So kind of interesting. The ones that were more sought after are actually going, dropping a little bit. But the ones that are kind of less sought after are kind of starting to rise a little bit. So all in all, no difference. Your still average value is about $170 each on the legendaries. Let's go ahead and move to the Majestic Rainbow Foils. Majestic Rainbow Foils, we saw a 10% decrease. Most of that is due to Command and Conquer. There were actually like 3 or 4 sold listings at about $105, $110, $100, as well as TCG Player had some sold listings in there. Everything else is sitting pretty. We had some stuff move a couple bucks, but mostly things are leveling out at the between $20 and $30 range for the other cards. But that Command and Conquer really did lose a lot of value. So Art of War is still sitting at about $65. All in all, a 10% decrease on the Majestic Rainbow foils. And you can see this will, especially with with more boxes coming to the market now, this will start to kind of plateau eventually. It might decline a little bit more, but it'll start to plateau eventually. So let's move over to the regular Majestics. These are the non-foil. We actually saw a small increase. Last week we had a 7% increase. This week is 4%. Some of the things that are driving that are actually the non-foil Command and Conquer, which I thought was very, very interesting. And but we did have some drops like 3 of a Kind, Red in the Ledger, and High Octane actually moving up as well. I believe that's a Mechologist card. Yeah, the Mechologist cards are all around the board moving up. Especially we talked about that in Crew as well yesterday. So all in all, 4% increase. Your average Majestic is about $20, so that's pretty cool. And you get 2 in a box if you did not know. Average of 2. I did see somebody get 4 in a box the other day, which I thought was pretty incredible. Super rare, rainbow foils. All in all, we lost 15% in super rares. And you'll see on the regular super rares, we also lost value. A lot of this is coming in just all the cards, really. They're all down. Forked Lightning down $2.50. Become the Arc Knight down. Pursuit of Knowledge down $5, almost 50%. So a lot of movement here, and there are so many more of these that the market is catching up to the player base and what people want from those things. So down 15% there. I didn't show you the graph. If you care about graphs, there you go. On the regular super rares, we're also down 5%. Some stuff went up. Again, the Mechanologist cards are kind of going up, but the other cards are going down. Especially the Ranger cards are very soft right now. So all in all, nothing too important to report on, but all in all, a 5% decrease. Again, I think this will kind of follow the trajectories, and you'll see as the market, on all these cards, as the market gets more boxes, the single prices will go down, and as the market gets less boxes, the single prices will go up. It's basic economics. TCGs are a great way to learn economics if you did not know that. So let's move over to the rares. This is the rainbow foils. Just a reminder that most of these prices are the TCG lowest listed. It's just simply too much work to go through every one of these cards and find a sold listing for. So what I do is I take the TCG lowest listed and then I look for any outliers, and there were no outliers this time around actually. So all in all, TCG players or TCG sellers have lowered their prices by 18%. Now there were plenty of them. I do kind of look randomly. There were plenty of sold listings at and around these prices, so I think you can expect to get around some of these prices for them. But if you're selling individual cards, I would look to maybe look for your own sold listings on them. And keep in mind that buying an individual card is going to be, you're going to get less money than selling. You're going to get more money than if you sold as a lot. So if you're purchasing cards, you might look for some of these rainbow foils in a lot, and you'll be able to save quite a bit of money. All in all, though, minus 18% on the listings, and you can see that's going on there. And then the rares, there's just not much of value here. I think your average rare price comes in at 61 cents. Again, TCG sellers are starting to lower their prices as they're getting more boxes, and they want to get rid of some product. So all in all, let's go to our EV calculation. In a box, you're going to get 42 rares, 4 super rares, foils. 42 rares, 4 foil rares, 4 super rares, 1 foil super rare, 2 Majestics, a quarter of a foil Majestic. I'm struggling today. You have a 1/4 chance at a legendary, and you have a 1 in 40 chance at your heart. So if you were to open 40 boxes, you would run yourself an average of $172 a box, because you'll probably pull that eye at whatever that was, what is $7.50, $7.25. But if you don't pull the fabled, the eye, then you're sitting about $86. And also in this price, I take off the this is if you don't pull a legendary as well. This is one box, my bad. This is if you're opening one box and you don't hit the legendary or the fabled, you're sitting around $86. So all in all, this is very similar to what it was last week. Remember that if you open one box, you're creating a gamble, so your box EV is not 172. You're paying the gambler's premium, and you lose out on that option of getting the eye. So let's go to what compared to last week. We had a 4% decrease, but sitting around $170, $175 per box in your EV. Cool. So now let's go ahead and move to Arcane Rising First Edition. Now, I want to complain a little bit here. So first off, let's get to the box prices. Sorry. Before I get into complaining here, All in all, we had a decrease this week in the box sales. There was a ton of product hit the market. If you remember last week, I said Channel Fireball kind of set that pinnacle. Well, Channel Fireball set the pinnacle, and everybody kind of undercut Channel Fireball. So we actually had a dip into the like $1,400 range for sealed boxes this week. You could have picked one up for about $1,400, but right now, if you look on eBay, kind of sold listings, you're sitting about 1,700. It's starting to go back up. So if you didn't get one at 1,400 and you want one, this is now probably the time that you want to pick them up before they go back up. I would say you could potentially still find some on Facebook Marketplace for around 1,400 to 1,500, but very, very quickly these are going to hit that kind of threshold that Channel Fireball is setting. So we still have some under that, so I'm kind of putting the value at around 1,700, but that's still a decrease from last week of about 11%. Very interesting to see how Channel Fireball can kind of set that market standard because they put so much product on the line. So let's look at the eye. We had no confirmed sales of the eye this week. This was last week's sale price. I could not find any confirmed sales, and everyone I talked to couldn't find any confirmed sales. So one of the things I did see on eBay, the lowest listed, I don't have it pulled up, but on eBay, the lowest listed was $15,000. But on Facebook Marketplace, there is one available that was posted yesterday or the day before for $10,000. So I would expect this, if another sold listing happens, it seems like sellers are expecting that like $9,000 to $10,000 range, and we might see that in the next couple weeks. All in all, no market data really to elaborate on. Now, let's go over to the legendaries. And before you freak out, I think there's a really good deal available on TCG Player. We had a 14% loss, but part of that is this Arcanite Skull Cap that currently is available on TCG Player for $2,000. I wasn't going to say it, but it is not mine. The previous sold price this week was $2,350, so that'll be very interesting to see next week if this ends up selling at $2,000. If we have any other sold listings above that, so I would have picked it up, but I don't have $2,000 to spend on a piece of cardboard. All in all, we had some decreases though. We had a Skullbone Crasher. I can't say that. That was sold on eBay for over $1,000, $1,025, and not really any other movement. We had a Storm Striders. I think this was also on eBay, if I'm remembering correctly. That lost a little bit of value. The market as a whole, we saw this across the board with WTR and Arcane Rising this week. The market as a whole is kind of soft. People are recouping money from Christmas, so that's what's happening there. So minus 14% on this week. Let's go over to the cold foils. Cold foils saw an 11% increase. Now, keep in mind, anything that's red here, I could not really find a strong sold listing for it. Actually, I think these were offers, if I'm remembering correctly. There were no sold listings for the red ones. All the other ones I was able to find sold listings for in the marketplace. So all in all, an 11% increase. Remember to look up your own cards and don't just take my word for it. I'm just kind of taking what the market showed us this week. And this could change rapidly as well. Remember, Flesh and Blood, stuff changes really rapidly. So an 11% increase there. But we're seeing kind of the average price, I would say, around 120, 125, 30 bucks if you're looking for some of these common cold foils. Now, there are some that seem to be more sought after than others, which is probably the ones that are more played. So you're looking at, I think the Boots was kind of one that's kind of usually higher, and the Bracers is usually higher. But you know what, like the Robe, it's kind of all over the place. I really think the collectors are driving this market, people who want kind of to have that alpha or first edition cold foil property. That's probably what's driving the market more than playing on this. So 11% up. And here's where I get to complain a little bit, and that's the Majestic Rainbow Foils. All these red are basically, I just copied last week's pricing because there's just no data for it. And I'm going to have a video that comes out later this week, but really my guess, this applies to Majestics, the super rares, Rainbow Foils, and the super rares. Really, I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine because there is no data. Nobody is selling them on Facebook Marketplace. Nobody's selling them on Discord. Like if I search every single one of these cards, and on Discord, like the most recent offering for some of them is like the middle of December. So nobody is actually selling these cards. So good luck if you're trying to buy them. But this is kind of all the last sold listings that you can find on the cards. And so take that with a grain of salt, that I think some of these prices are probably higher. I actually made a Facebook post in the marketplace that was like, hey, if you're selling any of these cards, shoot me a DM and let me know what you expect to get out of the prices, because it's kind of ridiculous. Like, let's take a look at, if you look at rapid fire on the seller account in TCG Player, it's like absolutely crazy. I meant to have this pulled up for you, but what I'm going to tell you is that the let's go with rapid fire. The what people are expecting for the card is so much less. So this is what you see when you go into seller accounts. One sold at some point for $5. Let me make this bigger for you. One sold at some point for $5, and the lowest listed is $20. So no one's going to make up that gap. It's going to be hard to make up that gap, but sellers aren't crashing. This has been weeks in a row. Sellers aren't crashing, so buyers aren't buying. Same with the rainbow foils. The last sold, and everywhere the last sold was like around $20, but no one's offering it for less than $100. So it's just impossible to find any like actual sold data on any of this stuff. So just take that all with a grain of salt, and make sure and that's across the board on that stuff. So like all these majestic rainbow foils, people are offering them at like $700. No one's going to buy a $700 card that hasn't sold for higher than 75 publicly on the marketplace. So we'll talk about that later in another video. I kind of am going to rant a little bit more, but kind of some of these at $150. This is, some of them are listed at that, but there's never been any sold. So your guess is as good as mine, honestly, on some of the majestic rainbow foils. I'm doing my best to kind of search every possible database, but Facebook, your marketplace, all those places just don't have any cards. So we'll talk about it later. Sorry for ranting. Let's go on with it. All in all, though, we did have a sold listing of a Teklo core at 150. I read in the ledger of 91, so that kind of dipped down. Average price I'm putting here, Command & Conquer, Art of War, nothing sold, but I'll kind of put an average price of $190. Majestics, a lot of the same. We had some small increases, small decreases. The red ones, nothing sold. Kind of putting this one, we had another Command & Conquer. More Command & Conquers were sold at $125, so that price is good. Kind of putting an average of $40 for the Majestic, which I think is low based on the lack of sold listings, but that's kind of where I'm going with it based on what I have. Super rare, average price is $51. All the red, again, was no listings in the last week or two. We did have a Knock of the Death Whistle sell for $55. We had a Rapid Fire sell for $55. We had a Lesson in Lava sell for $55. So I would expect these markets to kind of drift towards like the $55 range. And in the super rare, we did have a few sold listings. A few dropped, a few went up. The Knock the Death Whistle seems to be a pretty important card lately. Become the Arc Knight increased in value. But all in all, I'm giving it $11 for an average for a super rare. The rare rainbow foils, now that we're moving on. The rare rainbow foils, again, this is the lowest listed price, and sellers are actually increasing, which tells me that they are selling. Like some of these prices sold last week, so sellers are actually moving up on their prices. So a $13 average rainbow foil rare seems high to me. I would try to get them at around $10 each if you're buying one or two for your collection, but that's kind of the average pricing right now that sellers are putting on TCG Player. And your rares are sitting right about $2, which is a 0% increase from last week. Common rainbow foils, I think your average is locking in around, if I remember right, that's a lot, around $5, yeah. So sellers have actually taken their prices down. This is the same thing. This is the average selling price, or the average listed price. So sellers are actually taking their prices down this time. So very interesting. I do know, I've been watching the Discord a little bit. There are people who are paying these prices too, that are just trying to complete collections. We've had some great conversations in the Discord about it. And the commons are all selling for about $1 a piece. So I know I'm kind of steaming through the end of here. I want to get this wrapped up in under 20 minutes for you. It'll be close, but all in all, your EV, let's go ahead and compare it to last week. All the box stuff is the same from Unlimited if you haven't been paying attention. And your box EV is at $13.77. Remember that includes all of the stuff, including the Chance at the Eye and your Legendary. If you take out the commons, so you're taking out the all the commons and the foils, I believe. Let's see, 4 and 5. Yeah. So if you take out all the commons, remember I'm trying to just do like if you're looking at actually selling the cards and you don't feel like you're going to move all the commons in like as singles, you're at $1,055, and this is what we're tracking. I think, if I remember, yeah, that's what we're going to be tracking. But then if you take out the legendary and the fabled and the non-foil commons, so you're selling some of the foil commons, you're selling all the other stuff, but you don't pull legendary, you don't pull fabled, you're sitting around $600, $581. So the one that we track week to week, because I feel like it's the best one to track, is the box EV without the commons. So your EV chart, you're actually we lost some value this week. Some of the cards went down in value, but there was no eye sale, so that's kind of what's driving that. But keep in mind, it's really hard to distinguish because of the lack of majestic sales and majestic foil sales. I would actually expect that to be kind of higher, to be honest with you. So, if you're still here and watching the video, thank you so much for being here. It's been kind of a wild ride this week, honestly, to find some of this data. I put like 6-7 hours into trying to locate data, and I search every card on 4 databases and stuff like that. So I appreciate you being here. Just remember, hit subscribe. Make sure you like the video. If you are not a patron and you want access, all the I kind of bashed my own numbers on this for the first edition, but all the unlimited numbers are accurate. So if you want a collection tracker and want to be able to know the value of your collection, I think the Patreon is a great place for you. At just $3, gets you access to all that. And I'm actually going to limit that to 50 spots for a while to see how I can keep up with it. But make sure you get over there. And then remember my TCG Player link and Midtown Merchant. If you're purchasing cards, purchase from one of those 2 spots. Hit up Midtown Merchant first. If they don't have your cards, go to TCG Player. But make sure you use my code, please. It really helps me out. So I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. Remember to be kind to the people around you. And if you are selling first edition Majestics and foils and all this stuff, shoot me a DM and let me know what you're asking for them, like your actual, what you would end up actually selling for them, because I'm interested, because it just doesn't seem like anything's out there. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for being here.